Do you believe in evolution? Do you think humans evolved or were created just as we are by God, maybe 10,000 years ago, as it says in the book of Genesis? Well, a group of paleontologists and geneticists think that the evidence is not only that we evolved, but that evolution is still in progress. There was an interesting story on that in Tuesday's New York Times, and it's also been reported in a number of scientific journals. In fact, I think it's safe to say that most scientists, the preponderance of scientists, would say, of course, humans evolved. Well, Americans don't necessarily agree. We've gone back now in some special analyses and combined several different times. We've asked Americans to choose between three approaches to where we humans came from. You're looking at the results there. Almost half of Americans choose the alternative that we were created by God. That is, humans were created by God in our current form just as we are. In other words, we didn't evolve. That's the biblical or the Genesis story. Here's the interesting part. We looked further at the data. Who is it that's most likely to believe that we were created by God just as it says in Genesis and that we didn't evolve? The more education you have, the less likely you are to believe that the biblical story of creation is the explanation for where we came from. Second, religion. This is no great shock. If you're religious, by that I mean you attend church regularly, you're significantly more likely to believe in the Genesis story than if you're not. Now, finally, we combine the two. This is a fascinating graph. Look at it very carefully here. Both of these factors are at work. The more education you have, the less likely you are to believe in the Genesis story. The less likely you are to go to church, the less likely you are to believe in the Genesis story. Put them together, you've got as few as 9% of Americans with postgraduate education who don't go to church who believe in the Genesis story, and as high as 72% of Americans with high school education or less who attend church frequently who say, yes, that's the explanation for where humans came from. Tomorrow we'll look at some new analyses of Americans' attitudes towards national security, and also, this is interesting, Americans' teenagers and what they think about gay marriage. I'm Frank Newport, Editor-in-Chief of the Gallup Poll with Democracy on Demand.